I'm really, really proud to be able to welcome her to this stage. Very proud to be able to welcome her on behalf of Tribune. As we said when we announced that she was coming, a very, very fitting person to follow in the tradition of Tribune rallies set up by people like Nye Bevan, set up by people like Jenny Lee. Somebody who has fought for workers in a movement that has given all of us on this side of the Atlantic a huge amount of encouragement in recent years. The chair of Bernie Sanders' 2020 election campaign, a fighter for working people across the world, Nina Turner.
My sisters and brothers and my family and friends of purpose and promise, my fellow champions of progress, I greet you with humility and gratitude for your warm welcome into this country. I am proud to be here with my son who took some time out of his busy schedule to spend time with his mama. If there's any mamas in the room, you know. I play the mama card often. I just want y'all to know. But I'm proud to have my baby here with me. I am so grateful to the General Secretary, David Ward, for Chris Webb, and all of the CWU family, the coolest union. Back home, where I'm from, we would say the union with swag. For the opportunity to be with you today, I want to thank Bhaskar of Jacobin for being the bridge and sharing the stories of our progressive movement across our two countries. And for Ronan of the great Tribune magazine for helping to coordinate this amazing week. To Glenn, to Fran, to Jean, to Katie, to Dawn and Dawn, thank you for taking the time to help make this such a special experience. Please know that I appreciate all of you. And I got to thank members of my team. I have Kara Tarantine here with me, who's on my comms team, who got here a little early to make sure that Sister Turner was all right when I got here. It takes teamwork, all right, to make the dream work. Is that all right? You know, I came across the pond to remind you, and I am going to summons a lot of ancestors from the African-American tradition to inform us on this journey. But the great president Nelson Mandela once said, "It always seems impossible until it is done." This movement to lift working people to a higher quality of life where they can have good paying union jobs and earn a living wage, educate their children and invest in their future, have health care, and importantly, live good lives is worth it. Our perseverance, compassion, and commitment to a world where equality is shared by all is worth it. We are in an epic battle for decency of all human beings and share an interconnectedness. The struggle for dignity of the poor, the working class, the working poor, and the barely middle class is worth standing up for. The work of making big corporations treat their workers with respect, to be accountable for their impact on the environment and invest in the labor force instead of just squeezing everyday people might seem impossible, but it is worth it. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Whatever affects one directly affects us all indirectly." As I like to say, what happens over here happens over there. We are all connected. We must end the human condition of greed. And brothers and sisters, and family and friends, let me just veer from my prepared remarks to talk about greed just for a minute. Nobody begrudges anybody for having a little wealth. As far as I'm concerned, wealth is an umbrella, and there are lots of things under that umbrella. It's relationship, it's your spirit, it's your heart, it's your mind, it's being able to live a good life. But what I am talking about is the notion of unfettered greed that suffocates the very people that help some of these folks find their ultra wealth, only for them to turn their backs on the very people who helped them to make it where they are today. We're not going to stand for it. And we are together on this. And why is it such a beautiful thing that Sister Turner is in town to talk about the interconnectedness of the struggle? Because what happens over in the United States of America happens over here. What happens over there happens over here, happens to our sisters and brothers and family and friends all over the world. What we have in common is the human desire to live a good life. And let me tell you something. I believe that your ability to live a good life should not just be relegated to how much money you have in a bank account. Hello, somebody. So we must end the human condition of greed, hate, and indifference, because we cannot stand by and ignore poverty and the needs of working people. Our fight is tough, and the movement will have mountaintop moments, and we will have valley experiences, because the status quo is not going away willingly. They will do everything that they can to try to kill our hope and our vision for a better future. But we got news for them, baby. We ain't going nowhere. We must protect the vote. One member, one vote. The civil rights movement in the United States of America and the labor rights movement are incredibly linked together. And for the progressive movement to grow our power, we need each and every one of us to challenge ourselves, to organize, to educate, to reach out and bring people together. It does take teamwork to make the dream work. It takes you bringing our experiences, those of our neighbors and our communities, and lifting them up so that every voice can be heard. As the great Jeremy Corbyn once said, life is life. Some of the wisest people you meet are sweeping our streets. Come on. And we really did find out all over the world which professions are the most important professions, because the pandemic helped us to understand who really is essential. Hello, somebody. Hello, somebody. It ain't the billionaire class, baby. It's the working class that's essential. Hello, somebody. I want to thank the everyday worker for the role that you play in your ability to speak truth to power. I share your belief that there is a certain level that no human being should live below. And let there be no mistake, we can only win this battle for human dignity if we are clear-eyed about the forces our movement is up against. It's multinational corporations whose only allegiance is to the value of their stock. It's billionaires and CEOs who seeing their salaries skyrocket in the midst of a global pandemic, all while millions were left to live paycheck to paycheck. It is fossil fuel companies that would rather choose incrementalism and exploitation of the planet instead of the very real and large-scale decision we must make in order for Mother Earth to survive. We must do a new thing. And we must do it together. We see this struggle in every corner of the globe, and our challenge must be to not let the global corporate interests turn working people across the globe against one another. Baby, we need each other. And let me share an example with you Because I know when the workers in Bessemer, Alabama tried to organize for a union against Jeff Bezos and Amazon, that would send a ripple effect to their warehouses all around the globe. And that's why I went to Bessemer, because I know what happens over there happens in my great state of Ohio. What happens over there happens over here. I traveled to Alabama to stand in solidarity with workers who were fighting to create a union and demand safe, humane working conditions. I heard their horrific stories and felt their heartache because they were giving their best during a pandemic to put food on the table for their families and a job that would not punish them for simply wanting to go to the bathroom. Yes! Every worker deserves a union, and we must strengthen our resolve to expand unions everywhere. We only lose when we stop fighting. So we must keep fighting for higher wages, to protect and expand health care, to pass a Green New Deal, and to strengthen unions, to nationalize the Postal Service right here. Hello, somebody. To nationalize the internet. Hello, somebody. And I heard from Chris that it is important to nationalize grades. Hello. Yeah, we're going to do that. Your determination to make crooked paths straight in this nation is awe-inspiring, just as your compatriots in other nations. We know this work is hard, but it is worth it. We are a quilt stitched together through this work. Your piece with my piece to bond into a beautiful tapestry of humanity. We, in the tradition of my ancestors, and I'm thinking about the Black Moses herself, Harriet Tubman. It was about freedom and liberation, and she said these words. She said, if you hear the dogs, keep going. If you see the torches in the woods, keep going. If you hear shouting after you, keep going. If they're shouting after you, don't turn back, never stop. If you want to taste of freedom, keep going. And I decided to put that in the 21st century vernacular of our moment. So when they try to change the rules, keep going. When you lose an election, keep going. When you feel the pressure, keep going. When it feels too hard, keep going. If you want progress, never stop. You must keep going. And I love it when Brother David said, what we are doing, what are we going to do about it? See, that was a call to action for each and every one of you, because we all have a role to play in our progress. What are you going to do? A new deal for working people. So I want to close my remarks by summoning yet another ancestor who is my very beloved maternal grandmother. Put this back in the Southern Ladies Bank and Trust. And what my grandmother used to say in terms of being successful in life, she said, all you need are the three bones: the wishbone, the jawbone, and the backbone. She said the wishbone is for hoping and praying. See, the dream is the driver, but hope is what motivates us as human beings. Once we lose hope, we have lost it all. And that's why I want you to know that the forces of evil, and make no mistake, anybody that doesn't want working people to live a good life are working for the forces of evil. You see, The forces of evil want us to lose hope, but we refuse to relent. We will keep going. My grandmother said that the wishbone will give you courage to speak truth, to power, to lift your voice. Each and every one of you are relevant. And you do not have to have a special title to actually give a damn about what is happening. But my grandmother said, the most important bone of them all, the supercalifragilisticexpialidocious bone, is the backbone. Because the backbone will keep us standing through all of our trials and our tribulations. And sisters and brothers and family and friends, in this life, we're going to go through some stuff, but we cannot have a testimony without a test. And we are being tested to determine whether we got hope enough, whether we got love enough, whether we got courage enough to do what is right in our time. So when you hear the dogs, keep going. When the corporations and billionaires want to stand in your way, keep going. Those of us who believe in solidarity and truth and progress, keep going. And together, we will change not only life in this country, but all across the world, because there is no power more powerful than conscious-minded people on the move. Keep going.